If they do elevate Bailey Zappi to emergency quarterback 3 and just what would happen to Shedeur? Where would he be?
He'd just be inactive.
Okay. If that's the plan, then just let the kid go. Or are you trying to still make money off his jersey? Do you see him as a football player, or do you see him as a marketing tool? That's what you need to decide. Because the people that want to see him football are getting really frustrated.
Why would one of the most hyped quarterbacks in recent college football history, a player with NFL bloodlines, a Heisman-worthy resume, and the confidence to command a locker room, get buried before he ever had a chance to prove himself? That's the question Browns fans, analysts, and even fellow players are starting to ask. From the moment Shedeur Sanders arrived in Cleveland, the conversation changed. Some saw star potential. Others saw a media sensation. But what no one expected was silence. No real reps with the starters. No time with the ones. No real shot to climb the depth chart. Just a fifth-round pick drifting quietly toward irrelevance. And yet, when the few opportunities came, Sanders showed flashes. Tight throws, good reads, 2 preseason touchdowns. But somehow, that wasn't enough. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel, taken 2 rounds earlier, was struggling in practice, throwing picks, missing reads. Yet he got the reps, the offense, the trust.
You mean he hurt his chances that much? Why would they value the third game over the first game?
Riz, because you're supposed to improve with every appearance.
He played with the 2s in the first game.
I'm not going to argue with him, all right? He had 5 series, and he went backwards on each of them.
Played with the 3s, Tony. 4 of the 5 guys got waived the next day. That doesn't mean anything? That doesn't mean anything to you? Boy, it means something to you. It would mean something to you if Dillon Gabriel was the guy playing with the 3s and they got waived the next day. That would mean something to you.
So what gives? Why is Shedeur Sanders, someone who was once projected to go in the first or second round, being sidelined without explanation? And are the Browns actually trying to develop a quarterback or protect their draft day ego? Some say it's politics. Others say it's money. And the rumors, they're heating up fast. Is this just bad evaluation or something deeper going on behind the scenes? In today's story, we're breaking down exactly what's happening inside the Browns. Quarterback room, from shady draft day decisions and buried practice reps, to media narratives, marketing dollars, and a controversial superstar looming in the background. Because whether you believe Shedeur is the future or not, one thing is becoming impossible to ignore. This might not be about football anymore.
Ain't nothing wrong with going through something in life. Ain't nothing wrong with it.
Hit the Al Green.
Ain't nothing wrong. All right? I believe that this is not going to break Shedeur Sanders. So even if he is being treated unfairly, all right, overcome it. I believe he can overcome it. Because guess what? In all of our lives, we've had times when we've been treated unfairly. How did you handle it? Did you say, nah, that's it, I'm running away? Or did you go, okay, I got you. I'm about to show you what time it is. So I believe Shedeur has that attitude. So let's stop crying for him. All right?
Let's quit on playing, so why should you quit on this?
Yeah, let's get behind him. All right? Let's get behind him. Let's say, let's go, bro. Keep grinding. Keep grinding. The message of they're not treating you right, so you should leave is the fastest way to failure. So let's toughen up a little.
Just months ago, Shedeur Sanders was being discussed as a potential first-round pick. His college stats were impressive. He had NFL pedigree as the son of Deion Sanders. And more importantly, he had swagger. Teams were watching. Scouts were hyping. Analysts had him going in the top 60. But then, the slide happened. By the time draft night came around, Sanders fell to the 5th round, a drop that shocked most observers. Still, many assumed once he got into training camp, the talent would shine through. He'd get a clean shot, outwork the noise, and force the Browns to take notice. What happened instead? A quiet fade into the background. In training camp, he barely touched the field with the starters. While other rookies got reps, Sanders was buried beneath the depth chart, running plays with third stringers, some of whom were cut the very next day.
Dry, do you think Shedeur would be better off somewhere else?
I do not. The reason why I say that, I think playing here under Kevin Stefanski is going to help him. I think if he can watch Joe Flacco, learn from Joe Flacco, heck, on some levels, watch what Dylan's doing. It will help his game.
I don't know if he'd be better off, because in order to be better off, you need to be wanted. And the fact is that no one drafted him in the first 5 rounds. The only team that did was the Cleveland Browns, and they traded up to do so, by the way. So I do think that there is an investment in Shedeur Sanders. Now, the guy's going to get an opportunity to play this year at some point in time. If he shows up and shows out like he's capable of doing that, I truly believe so.
Even after showing flashes of skill, like tossing 2 touchdowns in his preseason debut, it didn't seem to matter. His opportunities stayed limited. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel, taken 2 rounds earlier, was getting every chance to run with the ones. And even when Gabriel struggled, the reps didn't shift. The game plan didn't change. Which raises the question, was Shedeur ever really given a chance? Or was he just drafted to fill a headline quota? Sanders wasn't perfect, but every QB makes mistakes with weak talent around them, and that's all he's had. But when flashes of high-level play show through even in those conditions, doesn't that deserve more evaluation? Or maybe it doesn't, if the decision was already made before he ever stepped on the field. And that's what fans are starting to ask. Was this about talent or something else entirely? Back in January, nobody had Shedeur Sanders falling past the 2nd or 3rd round. Not ESPN. Not insiders. Not even rival scouts.
Doesn't fit your narrative. Doesn't fit your narrative.
Narrative? I don't understand your emotional investment in Shedeur.
Tony, I'm rooting for the kid. Don't worry about what my
fine.
investment is. Worry about what your investment is with your guy. Don't worry about me. Don't worry about why I like a guy. I think that kid can play better than Dillon Gabriel. I said it before the draft, and I'll stick to it. I think he got a raw deal here in Cleveland. End of story. That's how I feel. Don't tell me how to feel.
At which point will you admit, boy, was I wrong?
Tony, it might be 10 years down the road because both these guys are going to be backups, honestly.
I agree with you. I agree with that. But right now, Gabriel's better. Couldn't you see it? Didn't you guys watch
Tony,
the game?
yeah, Tony, yes. You asked me why I'm rooting for Shedeur because I like him. I'm sorry he's famous. I'm sorry that you don't like famous people, even though you're the most famous guy in the world right now.
No, that's
okay.
Not
I don't know what you're thinking. I'm just telling you. Don't tell me who to like.
He was productive, disciplined, marketable, a quarterback who showed accuracy under pressure, the ability to read defenses in real time, and a strong command of the huddle. Combine that with his famous last name and college highlights, and you had a prospect that felt safe. But as draft day crept closer, something started to shift. Rumors began leaking, quiet ones at first. Mock drafts subtly dropping him around. Whispers about attitude. Concerns about competition level. Stories that seemed strangely coordinated and not grounded in film. By February, something was clearly off, and then it happened. Pick after pick, Sanders sat undrafted. Teams that needed quarterbacks passed him up. Not once, not twice, dozens of times. By the time Cleveland took him in the 5th round, fans weren't confused. They were suspicious. Was this a league-wide red flag? Or a quiet attempt to drop his value and turn him into a cheap gamble? More than one NFL insider has suggested that someone wanted Shedeur's price tag to drop. Maybe a team, maybe an agent, maybe both. Whatever the case, by the end of the draft, the narrative had shifted entirely. Instead of being seen as a potential star, Shedeur was being labeled a project, a player who needed development, reps, and time. But here's the twist. He hasn't been given any of that. No real development plan, no first-team reps, no commitment, nothing. So if the Browns didn't draft him to be their quarterback of the future, why did they draft him at all? Because if this wasn't about football, then it might have been about something much more calculated, and maybe even personal. From the outside looking in, training camp should have been Shedeur Sanders' chance to flip the narrative. Fresh start, blank slate, let the talent speak. But what actually happened behind closed doors? It's got fans and even league insiders raising serious questions. According to multiple reports, Sanders was quietly one of the most efficient quarterbacks in practice. day after day, completing 70 to 80% of passes. No picks, crisp throws, smart decisions. And who was he doing it all with? Practice squad guys, backups, players who were released the next day. Meanwhile, Dillon Gabriel, Cleveland's third-round pick, was tossing interceptions, batted balls, struggling to hit open receivers. And yet, he kept getting reps with the first team. The Browns had 2 rookie QBs to evaluate, but it looked like only one of them was actually being tested. And that's where the favoritism angle starts to kick in. Was Gabriel simply handed the keys because of his draft position? Was this about validating the front office's decisions instead of letting real competition decide the depth chart? Because on film, it just didn't look close. Even veteran beat writers started asking why Shedeur wasn't getting a real shot. Fans in the comments were noticing the same thing. Inconsistent standards, selective chances, and a star athlete being relegated to cleanup duty, no matter how well he performed. Yes, Shedeur had a rough outing in his final preseason appearance, but almost anyone would if you surrounded them with a collapsing offensive line and receivers who can't create separation. He wasn't just playing with the third team, he was carrying them. So again, the question becomes, was this about performance in his first outing, despite being surrounded by bottom-tier personnel? Players who were literally waived within 24 hours? Shedeur put together 2 clean scoring drives and threw for multiple touchdowns. He showed poise, rhythm, and awareness you'd expect from a second-rounder, not a fifth. He didn't get rattled behind a patchwork offensive line. He extended plays, made smart decisions in the red zone. He flat out showed he could move an offense, even when the odds were stacked. And yet, that wasn't enough. Instead of earning more reps the following week, his opportunities shrank. Less time on the field, fewer snaps, lower tier support cast again. And by the final preseason game, his time was barely a blip. 1 series, a few throws. That's it. Media outlets brushed it off. Coaches played coy. But fans were watching. People started noticing a troubling pattern. Sanders had delivered when tested, but the Browns weren't responding with opportunity. Even worse, while Shedeur's chances were shrinking, Dillon Gabriel's leash stayed long, even as the mistakes piled up. That's when the speculation intensified. Was this a competition at all? Or had the outcome been decided before the preseason even began? If you gave a struggling rookie tons of reps, and a hot hand rookie no shot to gain rhythm? What kind of evaluation is that? This wasn't just about missed chances. It was about intentional control over who got to shine. And behind the scenes, fans and even some insiders started to believe the Browns had a hidden agenda. At this point, it's getting harder to believe that what's happening with Shedeur Sanders is just business as usual. Because when the patterns get this obvious, draft status over performance, silence over evaluation, hype over honesty, it starts to feel like something else entirely. Look at it from the Browns' perspective. They spent a 3rd-round pick on Dillon Gabriel. Shedeur Sanders? 5th round. And in the NFL, where general managers are constantly trying to justify their decisions, draft status sometimes matters more than actual talent. Is it possible the Browns are favoring Gabriel not because he's better, but because they have to make him look better? If they admit Shedeur's outperforming their higher pick, it exposes the front office. It proves they either misjudged Gabriel or undervalued Sanders. Either way, it becomes a bad look. And nobody in a front office wants to look like they got it wrong, especially not in Cleveland. So instead of letting the field speak, they control the narrative. They limit Shedeur's exposure. They give Gabriel the best reps, the cleaner weapons, the better shot. And they point to that performance gap as proof of their original decision. But the eye test tells a different story. So do the practice stats. So do the fans, who are watching Shedeur move the ball while Gabriel stalls behind the ones. The Browns had a chance to foster healthy competition. Instead, they created a controlled outcome to justify a decision, and in the process, may have sabotaged 2 young QBs by refusing to let the best man win. And then there's the worst theory of all. What if Shedeur was never brought to Cleveland to compete in the first place? What if he was brought in to sell, to distract, to generate hype while sitting in the shadows? As the season inches closer and the quarterback depth chart stays locked in, one question keeps bubbling up in fan circles, comment sections, and even Cleveland beat reports. Was Shedeur Sanders ever brought here to actually play football, or just to sell it? Because if you look beyond the practice reps and preseason rotations, you start to notice something strange. Despite barely playing, Shedeur Sanders' jersey was one of the top sellers this offseason. Social media? Drenched in clips, interviews, name drops, headlines. Every time his name trends, even without starting a game, the Browns benefit. And that opens the door to a troubling idea: that the team isn't evaluating Shedeur as a quarterback. They're treating him as a brand asset, a walking marketing campaign. Just enough spotlight to drive clicks, and just enough silence to avoid pressure. It wouldn't be the first time a young player was treated more like a media tool than an athlete. But what makes this worse is that Shedeur has actually shown he can play. This isn't just hype. He's made tight window throws, scrambled when needed, led scoring drives, and done it all surrounded by third-string talent. Yet the radio silence continues. In pressers, he's barely mentioned. In reps, he's barely visible. But in jersey sales, center stage. Even fans who weren't on the Shedeur hype train are starting to feel uneasy. If you're not giving the kid snaps, why keep him on the roster? Why keep teasing his potential while never testing him in real conditions? Unless, of course, you're not trying to test him at all. Is Shedeur Sanders just QB3 on paper, but marketing gold behind the scenes? And if that's the case, there's only one thing left to wonder. What happens when the real quarterback controversy explodes? Just when you think the Browns' quarterback situation couldn't get messier, one name re-enters the conversation: Deshaun Watson. He's not playing yet. He's not even activated, but he's lurking. Videos of Watson throwing again in practice have started surfacing. Tight spirals, mobility drills, flashes of that former Pro Bowl form, which is catching the eyes of ownership and fans alike. But here's the thing. 86.9% of Browns fans polled recently said they don't want Watson starting another game. Not now, maybe not ever. The fan base has moved on, or at least they want to. So now the Browns are staring at an impossible situation. You've got a third-round rookie, Gabriel, who's been inconsistent at best. A fifth-round rookie, Sanders, who's shown flashes, but hasn't been given a real shot. A $230 million quarterback with injury concerns and off-field baggage. And Joe Flacco lingering on the back end for stability, which some don't even want. What is the plan here? Because you can't keep all four. The trade deadline is looming. Watson's return window is getting closer, and injuries could shake this entire QB room into chaos. Could Watson be activated just to serve as a backup? The Browns have loaded their quarterback room with short-term answers and long-term controversy. And if Watson comes back healthy and gets reps, it won't just shift the depth chart. It could stop Shedeur's shot entirely. And that raises another problem. No one's saying out loud. What happens when top future QBs look at this mess and say, "I'm not going there"? All of this, the draft day fall, the buried reps, the Watson dilemma, it leads to one massive, unavoidable question. Are the Browns about to waste the quarterback they don't even realize they have? Anyone who watches football knows how rare it is to find a young quarterback with composure, mobility, accuracy, and built-in leadership. Sanders has shown traces of all of it. But they haven't looked under the hood long enough to know what's really there. And if they never do, that decision could haunt this franchise for the next decade. Because no matter what you think of Shedeur Sanders, there's one thing you can't argue with: uncertainty. And right now, that uncertainty has been completely manufactured by Cleveland's front office. They chose not to give him a fair rotation. They chose to keep him in the shadows. And if they let this thing play out without giving him a real opportunity, they're risking one of two disasters. They lose a legitimate starter for nothing and watch him thrive on another team. They go into next year's draft with no clear QB1. Again. And that matters more than most fans think, because the next crop of first-round quarterbacks, they're watching this too. They're seeing how Sanders is being treated. They're reading the headlines. And if you think a star like Arch Manning is going to walk into this dysfunction willingly, think again. Why would a high-profile college quarterback risk wasting his rookie contract in a system that favors politics over performance? They're going to say no thanks. And if Cleveland becomes known as the place where young QBs go to stall, choke, or ride the bench for jersey sales, well, that kind of reputation doesn't go away anytime soon. So here's the real question. Do the Browns even know what they're sitting on? And if they don't, they're not the only ones who will pay the price. At the end of the day, this isn't just about Shedeur Sanders playing quarterback. It's about a broken system that punishes potential and protects pride. The Browns had two rookie quarterbacks. One played below expectations and got every opportunity. The other showed flashes of real promise and got buried beneath PR spin, depth charts, and marketing hype. And that's the part that stings the most, because Shedeur isn't just some hype machine. He's shown he can make the throws, lead drives, and operate under pressure. But talent means nothing if you're locked out of opportunity. So let's be honest. Was this ever really about competition? Or did the Browns already decide who the favorite was before the games even began? Now, with Deshaun Watson quietly rehabbing and the trade deadline creeping closer, this entire quarterback room feels like a powder keg waiting to blow. Someone's going to be forced out. Someone's going to be exposed. And if the Browns aren't careful, they'll waste a quarterback who could have actually saved them. Think back to every quarterback Cleveland has passed on, mishandled, or run out of town. Are we watching history repeat itself again? Except this time, the kid has national attention and fans watching his every snap. Whatever the truth is, fans are no longer sitting quietly. They want answers. Because if this really is just business, if this really is about jersey sales over playoff wins, then Browns fans will be the ones paying the price. And if Shedeur Sanders finally gets a shot with the weapons, the reps, and the support he deserves, maybe we'll get a real answer to the question we've been asking all along. Is this kid the future? Or just another name on a list the Browns never understood?